Ever wonder what movies actual Marines watch? While Hollywood loves to glorify combat, only a handful of films earn respect from the men and women who've actually served. One Marine captain told me they banned the Hurt Locker from their base in Afghanistan because the inaccuracies made them physically angry. These 15 films passed their brutal standards. Number 15. Jarhead, 2005. Sam Mendes' Gulf War masterpiece hits Marines like a gut punch of recognition. Based on Anthony Swafford's memoir, this film captures the crushing boredom, dark humor, and psychological strain of modern warfare better than any recruitment poster. Jake Gyllenhaal's portrayal of Swaff shows the surreal reality of being trained to kill, then deployed to a war where you might never fire a shot. What makes Marines respect this film isn't the action, but its brutal honesty about military life. The scene where Marines watch Apocalypse Now and cheer for the violence perfectly captures the conflicted psychology of warriors waiting for combat. Actual drill instructors served as consultants, ensuring every detail from boot camp to desert deployment rang true. Critics initially dismissed it as a war movie where nothing happens, but serving Marines recognized their own experiences in that exact complaint. One staff sergeant told me, "That scene where they're playing football in mop suits in 112-degree heat. That's exactly the kind of pointless suffering that defines military service." The film's $28 million budget yielded realistic visuals that actual veterans found triggering. Swafford himself admitted he couldn't watch certain scenes without experiencing flashbacks. Unlike most military films, Jarhead doesn't glorify war or make heroes of its characters. It simply shows what happens when you train men for violence, then leave them in the desert with nothing to shoot. Number 14. Full Metal Jacket, 1987. Stanley Kubrick's Vietnam masterpiece remains the definitive boot camp experience in cinematic history. Real Marines consistently rank the first half of this film as the most accurate portrayal of training ever filmed. R. Lee Ermey, an actual drill instructor turned actor, improvised most of his now legendary insults, creating the most authentic military authority figure Hollywood has ever seen. The film's training sequences are so realistic that they've been studied by actual Marine Corps leadership. Former Marine Sergeant Jim Daly revealed, "We'd watch it before becoming instructors ourselves, not for the insults, but for the psychology of breaking civilians down to build Marines." The second half, showing urban combat in Hue City, captures the chaos and moral complexity of Vietnam in ways that documentaries struggle to convey. What makes this film extraordinary is how it portrays military transformation. Private Joker's journey from wisecracking recruit to hardened combat correspondent reflects the psychological price of becoming a warrior. The famous 1,000-yard stare scene with Private Pyle has been referenced by combat psychiatrists as a perfect visualization of trauma. Kubrick's methodical approach extended to military details. He insisted the actors perform actual drill movements correctly, marched them for hours between takes, and had them learn authentic Marine Corps cadences. The result is a film so accurate that parts of it have literally been used in military training, despite its deeply anti-war message. Number 13. A Few Good Men, 1992. You can't handle the truth about why Marines love this courtroom drama. While civilians remember Jack Nicholson's explosive testimony, actual Marines point to this film as the most accurate portrayal of corpse culture ever captured. The conflict between unit cohesion and individual morality cuts straight to the core dilemma of military service. Writer Aaron Sorkin spent months interviewing Marines about the concept of Code Red discipline. What he discovered was a complex honor system that civilian audiences could barely comprehend. The film's central conflict between military necessity and legal ethics remains a topic discussed in officer training courses today. Director Rob Reiner brought unprecedented authenticity to the production. Marine technical advisors ensured every uniform, haircut, and ritual was flawless. The famous scene where Lance Corporal Dawson refuses to accept discharge resonates deeply with veterans who understand that military identity isn't something you simply walk away from. Critics praised the star power, but missed how accurately the film captured Marine culture. One retired colonel told me, "The scene where they discuss unit cohesion versus legal liability is exactly the conversation happening behind closed doors at every Marine base." The $40 million production became a cultural touchstone, with Code Red entering the lexicon as shorthand for extrajudicial punishment. Number 12. Generation Kill, 2008. HBO's 7-part miniseries based on Evan Wright's embedded reporting with 1st Reconnaissance Battalion during the 2003 Iraq invasion isn't just accurate, it's practically a documentary. Actual Marines from the unit served as consultants and actors, creating a level of authenticity that makes most military films look like cartoon fantasies. What sets this series apart is its refusal to either glorify or condemn. It simply shows Marines as they are, professional warriors dealing with absurd orders, equipment failures, and mounting civilian casualties. The dialogue is so authentic that veterans report physical reactions to hearing familiar jargon and inside jokes again. Series consultant Eric Coker, a Marine portrayed in the show, insisted on details so precise that production designers had to recreate exact patterns of wear on equipment. The famous mop suit chicken wing scene has been verified by dozens of Iraq veterans as something they personally witnessed. No other production has captured the dark humor of combat units with such precision. Critics praise the series for avoiding both jingoism and anti-war cliches. The New York Times called it the most realistic portrayal of modern warfare ever filmed. What resonates most with Marines is how it shows the gap between strategic planning and tactical reality. One lieutenant told me, the scenes with clueless commanding officers making decisions from air-conditioned tents perfectly capture why combat units develop such cynicism. Number 11. Heartbreak Ridge, 1986. Clint Eastwood's portrayal of hard-charging gunnery Sergeant Highway divides civilian critics and actual Marines. While reviewers dismissed it as jingoistic, real gunny sergeants consider it the most accurate portrayal of old-school Marine leadership ever filmed. The generational conflict between Vietnam veterans and new recruits perfectly captured the Corps during its 1980s transformation. What makes Marines appreciate this film is its honest portrayal of peacetime military frustrations. The scene where Highway battles bureaucracy for equipment upgrades resonates deeply with veterans who fought similar battles against military bureaucracy. Eastwood spent months interviewing Marine instructors to capture their teaching methods and leadership philosophy. The film's authenticity comes from its focus on small unit readiness. Highway's obsession with preparing his Marines for unknown threats mirrors the Corps' actual approach to training. One retired first sergeant told me, "I quoted Highway's line about improvise, adapt, and overcome in every briefing I gave for 20 years. Critics panned the film's machismo, missing that its portrayal of competitive unit pride perfectly captures Marine culture. Even the much-mocked "Recon Platoon" chant has been confirmed as accurate by veterans. The $15 million production became required viewing for NCOs despite never being officially endorsed by the Corps. Number 10. The Pacific, 2010, HBO's brutal miniseries focusing on the 1st Marine Division's island-hopping campaign makes Saving Private Ryan look like a recruitment video. Based on memoirs from actual Marines Eugene Sledge and Robert Leckie, the series captures the psychological devastation of the Pacific Theater with unflinching honesty. One retired Marine told me he could only watch one episode per week because the combat sequences triggered his PTSD. What makes this series essential is its portrayal of the unique brutality of Pacific combat. The episode covering Peleliu shows Marines fighting in 115-degree heat on coral terrain so sharp it shredded their boots. Production designers recreated specific battlefields with such accuracy that World War II veterans reportedly broke down during screenings. The $200 million budget allowed producers to capture details most war films ignore. The physical deterioration of the Marines, suffering from malnutrition, tropical diseases, and psychological trauma, shows how environment became as deadly an enemy as Japanese forces. Actor Rami Malek lost 20 pounds during filming to accurately portray the starvation conditions. Critics praised the series' refusal to glorify combat. The Los Angeles Times wrote, "It shows heroism without romance, sacrifice without meaning." What resonates with Marines is how it portrays the psychological cost of dehumanizing the enemy. The scene where Sledge begins collecting gold teeth from dead Japanese soldiers shows how good men can be transformed by prolonged combat. Unlike most war epics, the Pacific shows that victorious campaigns can still destroy the men who fought them, a reality every combat veteran understands. Number 9. Black Hawk Down, 2001. Ridley Scott's hyperkinetic portrayal of the disastrous 1993 Mogadishu raid remains the gold standard for modern combat cinematography. While it focuses on Army Rangers and Delta operators, Marines consistently rank it among their essential films for capturing the chaos, confusion, and brotherhood of urban warfare with documentary precision. What makes this film extraordinary is its commitment to tactical accuracy. Military technical advisors, including veterans of the actual battle, insisted on details so precise that the production recreated exact radio transmissions from the fight. The disorienting camera work and sound design mimicked the sensory overload of combat so effectively that combat veterans report physical reactions to certain sequences. The film's $92 million budget allowed for unprecedented realism. Actors underwent actual military training under Rangers who fought in Mogadishu. Josh Hartnett revealed they fired over 60,000 blank rounds during production. One Marine lieutenant told me, the scene where they miss the turn and have to circle back under fire perfectly captures how even simple navigation becomes nearly impossible once the shooting starts. Critics praised the film's intensity while debating its politics. Roger Ebert called it a first-rate war movie that pays decent respect to the awful reality it depicts. What resonates with actual Marines is how it portrays the grim reality that perfect tactical execution can still result in mission failure when strategic planning is flawed. The film's famous "Leave No Man Behind" sequences have been cited by military instructors as the perfect visualization of why recovery operations often result in more casualties than the initial contact. Number 8. Paths of Glory, 1957. Stanley Kubrick's black-and-white World War I masterpiece might seem dated to civilian viewers, but Marine officers consistently rank it among the most important military films ever made. Its unflinching portrayal of leadership failure and moral courage under institutional pressure cuts straight to the heart of military ethics in a way that resonates across generations. What makes this film essential viewing for Marines is its examination of command responsibility. Kirk Douglas's Colonel Dax, defending soldiers against scapegoating by higher command, embodies the ethical dilemma every military leader eventually faces. The film is regularly screened during officer candidate training to spark discussions about moral courage versus blind obedience. Kubrick's clinical direction captures the insanity of trench warfare with documentary precision. The tracking shots following Dax through the trenches established a visual language for combat that influenced every war film that followed. One Marine colonel told me, the scene where generals discuss acceptable casualty percentages over lunch perfectly captures the disconnect between strategic planning and tactical reality. Critics recognized its genius immediately, though the film was banned in France for decades due to its criticism of French military leadership. What resonates with modern Marines is how little has changed in military bureaucracy despite a century of technological advancement. Number 7. The Great Santini, 1979. Robert Duvall's portrayal of Lieutenant Colonel Bull Meekum might be the most accurate depiction of a career Marine ever filmed. Based on Pat Conroy's semi-autobiographical novel about growing up with his Marine pilot father, the film captures the impossible contradiction of warriors during peacetime. One retired Marine aviator told me, "I didn't know whether to feel seen or attacked when I first watched it." What makes this film resonate with Marine families is its unflinching portrayal of how military identity consumes everything. Meacham's inability to separate his role as squadron commander from his role as father reflects the struggle many career Marines face. The basketball scene where he mercilessly dominates his teenage son perfectly captures how military competitiveness can poison family dynamics. Director Louis John Carlino worked extensively with Marine aviators to capture their culture. The ready room banter, call signs, and rituals were so accurately portrayed that actual squadrons reported uncomfortable recognition. One Marine wife told me, the scene where he moves the family at 3 a.m. like a military operation wasn't even slightly exaggerated. Critics praised Duvall's performance while struggling with the character's complexity. Roger Ebert wrote, "We're asked to understand a man we can't possibly like." What resonates with Marines is precisely that complexity. The film shows a warrior who's exceptional at his profession but fails at basic humanity. Number 6. Battle, Los Angeles, 2011. Hollywood's alien invasion actioner seems like an odd choice for Marine approval, but actual service members consistently praise it as the most accurate portrayal of Marine Corps urban combat tactics ever filmed. Behind the sci-fi premise lies a meticulously researched depiction of how Marines actually clear buildings, set up defensive positions, and operate as a cohesive unit. What makes this film stand out is its commitment to tactical authenticity. Director Jonathan Liebesman hired retired Marine Sergeant Major James Deaver to train the actors for 3 weeks in actual Marine Corps protocols. The result is a film where every radio call, hand signal, and formation movement follows actual Marine combat doctrine. One gunnery sergeant told me, "If you replace the aliens with human insurgents, this is literally our training videos." The film's $70 million budget allowed for unprecedented attention to equipment details. The combat loads, weapon configurations, and even the way Marines carry their gear under fire was scrutinized by military technical advisors. Aaron Eckhart revealed that Marine consultants would reset their equipment between every take to maintain accuracy. Critics dismissed it as a video game movie. completely missing its value to military viewers. What resonates with actual Marines is how it portrays the Corps' emphasis on adaptive leadership. The scene where Eckhart's staff sergeant takes command after officers are killed perfectly captures the Marine Corps doctrine that every Marine is a potential leader. While civilians saw generic action fare, Marines recognized a rare film that understood their tactics, terminology, and unit cohesion under pressure. Number 5. The D.I., 1957. Jack Webb's black-and-white portrayal of a Marine drill instructor at Parris Island seems almost quaint compared to Full Metal Jacket. But actual Marine trainers consistently rank it among the most accurate depictions of recruit training ever filmed. Webb, creator of Dragnet, brought documentary realism to the project, shooting on location with actual Marine Corps cooperation. What makes this film extraordinary is how little drill instructor methods have changed in 65 years. The psychological pressure, attention to minute details, and emphasis on instant obedience remain cornerstones of Marine training. One current drill instructor told me, "Besides the old uniforms, this could be filmed today and still be 90% accurate." Webb insisted on absolute authenticity, with the Marine Corps providing technical advisors who vetted every line in action. The film captures the teaching methodology behind the seeming madness of boot camp. The scenes showing DI Staff Sergeant Moore lying awake worried about his recruits' readiness reveals the genuine care beneath the harsh exterior. Critics in 1957 found it shocking and excessive, not understanding that the portrayed methods were deliberately designed to prepare men for combat stress. What resonates with Marine veterans is the film's understanding that breaking civilian identity is necessary to build Marine Corps values. Made for just $400,000, the film became required viewing for prospective drill instructors for decades. As one retired sergeant major explained, "The best drill instructors aren't sadists. They're teachers using stress as a teaching tool." This film understood that difference when most people still don't. Number 4. Born on the 4th of July, 1989. Oliver Stone's devastating portrayal of Marine Ron Kovich's journey from eager volunteer to paralyzed anti-war activist divides civilian and military viewers. While some see it as anti-military propaganda, actual Marines often cite it as essential viewing for its unflinching portrayal of combat's physical and psychological aftermath. What makes this film resonate with veterans is its refusal to look away from uncomfortable truths. The scenes in the dilapidated VA hospital showing neglected veterans sparked actual reforms in veteran healthcare. Tom Cruise's portrayal of Kovich's rage, depression, and eventual activism captures the complex journey many combat veterans experience when reintegrating into civilian society. Stone, himself a Vietnam veteran, insisted on brutal authenticity throughout production. The combat sequences were choreographed with veterans who experienced the same chaotic urban fighting. One Marine Corps psychiatric nurse told me, "The scene where Kovich realizes he killed one of his own men portrays moral injury better than any clinical description I could give." Critics praised Cruise's performance and the film's unflinching gaze. Roger Ebert wrote, "It's a film about an American who lost his faith in his country, but who kept his patriotism." What resonates with Marine veterans is how it portrays the difficult truth that you can love the Corps while hating what combat does to Marines. The $14 million production won 2 Academy Awards and sparked national conversations about veteran care. As one Marine veteran told me, "It's a hard film to watch, but an important one. It shows what happens when we send Marines to war but don't prepare for their return." Number 3. The Outpost, 2020. Rod Lurie's portrayal of the Battle of Kamdesh in Afghanistan might be the most accurate combat film ever made. Based on CNN journalist Jake Tapper's meticulously researched book, the film reconstructs how 53 American soldiers, including Marines, held off 400 Taliban fighters at the war's most vulnerable and poorly positioned base. What makes this film extraordinary is its dedication to honoring the actual men who fought there. Actors trained directly with the soldiers they portrayed, learning their mannerisms, speech patterns, and combat techniques. The result is so authentic that family members of fallen soldiers reported being overwhelmed by the accuracy of the portrayals. Lurie, a West Point graduate, insisted on tactical precision throughout. The film uses actual radio transmissions, follows the real-time sequence of the battle, and shows equipment failures that endangered American lives. One Marine who served in Afghanistan told me, "The scene where their equipment doesn't work because brass back home bought the wrong systems is the most honest moment in any war film." Critics praised its authenticity and emotional impact. The Los Angeles Times called it a visceral reminder of what soldiers go through. What resonates with veterans is how it portrays modern combat without either glorification or political commentary. It simply shows men doing their job under impossible circumstances. Despite a modest $15 million budget and pandemic-limited release, the film has become essential viewing in military training courses examining small unit leadership under extreme pressure. Number 2. Saving Private Ryan, 1998. Spielberg's World War II epic revolutionized combat cinematography so completely that every war film made since exists in its shadow. The Omaha Beach sequence remains the standard by which all military action scenes are judged, with its desaturated visuals, shaky camera work, and realistic audio creating a combat experience so authentic that WE2 veterans reported PTSD episodes during screenings. What makes this film essential for Marines is its unmatched portrayal of infantry combat psychology. The scene where Corporal Upham freezes under pressure, unable to save his comrade, captures the uncomfortable truth that training cannot fully prepare anyone for combat's reality. Military psychologists have used this sequence to help veterans process similar experiences. Spielberg's attention to detail was legendary. He hired Marine Captain Dale Dye to put actors through actual military training, firing live ammunition and sleeping in field conditions for weeks before filming. Tom Hanks revealed they ate actual combat rations and weren't allowed to shower to maintain authentic appearances. The $70 million production fundamentally changed how Americans visualize combat, with military recruiters reporting both increased interest and more realistic expectations from potential volunteers after its release. Number 1. Flags of Our Fathers, Josh Letters, from Iwo Jima, 2006. Clint Eastwood's companion films examining the Battle of Iwo Jima from both American and Japanese perspectives represent the most complete portrait of combat ever filmed. Marines consistently rank this dual perspective as essential viewing for understanding both their own service culture and the humanity of their adversaries. What makes these films extraordinary is Eastwood's refusal to simplify the narrative. Flags shows how the famous flag-raising photo became propaganda, while the actual flag raisers struggled with survivor's guilt. Letters portrays Japanese defenders as humans following their own code of honor rather than faceless enemies. Eastwood worked extensively with Marine historians and Iwo Jima veterans to capture specific details. The production recreated the island's volcanic terrain so precisely that veterans reported flashbacks during set visits. One Marine Corps historian told me, "The scene showing Japanese soldiers entombed in collapsing tunnels is tactically and historically perfect, down to the specific explosives used." Critics praised Eastwood's balanced approach. Roger Ebert called it a masterwork, moving back and forth between the Japanese and American experiences. What resonates with Marines is how the films capture their Corps' bloodiest victory while acknowledging its cost to both sides. With a combined budget of $70 million, the films won multiple awards and became required viewing in Marine Corps leadership courses addressing the ethical complexities of combat against determined adversaries who are ultimately not so different from themselves. Which film do you think deserves the top spot? Was Jarhead ranked too low? Should American Sniper have made the list? The debate between technical accuracy versus emotional truth in military films continues to divide veterans and filmmakers alike. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.